the big news, I guess, today was Harry Maguire being booed. We've got to start with that. England beating Ivory Coast 3-0. Pretty routine evening at Wembley Stadium, especially after Serge Aurier's red card. We'll talk about Ollie Watkins later. We'll talk about Jude Bellingham. We'll talk about Grealish and Sterling and whether they can play together. If you've got a view on England, give us a call, 03717 223344, including Harry Maguire being booed. There were pretty strident opinions last night on the sports bar straight after the game and today throughout the day on talkSPORT 2. Firstly, do you think it was fair, unfair? What's your just initial reaction to him being booed, Danny?
I think being booed before the game, when your name is announced, when you're supporting England and you're playing for England, I think those people that booed him are pathetic. I really do. I think it's shameful. If you want to boo him afterwards because he's played badly or he hasn't put the effort in or you don't think for whatever reason you boo the performance, that's fine. But to boo an England player representing your country that you've gone to watch before the game is pathetic.
Is it ever okay to boo a player from a team that you support, even the team that you support?
Not your home team, no. Well, I think you're a supporter. So that's it. You are a supporter of that football club. Now, whether you agree with the decision or you don't, you support your team. That's not supporting your team. Doesn't matter whether that's England, Manchester United, Aston Villa, Swansea. You support your club and your team. And booing your own players before the game, in my eyes, not acceptable. If you want to do it afterwards, I don't have a massive issue with that because you have to take that. But at what point do you think he's going to play better because of that? If that was a World Cup semi-final or World Cup final, would all those England fans be booing him beforehand? No, they wouldn't. So why do they think they've got the rights to do it just because it's a friendly? It's pathetic.
Listen, I think, and this question was put to Gareth Southgate, you know, what are these England fans trying to say?
Well, do you know what? I was listening to the show this morning a little bit with, obviously, Laura Gabby and Ali on first thing. Then I was listening to a bit of White and Jordan.
Busy morning, yeah.
Yeah, busy, you know, in and out the car, doing bits and pieces, running errands. But I'd never got to the point where I heard somebody phone in that booed and gave a valid reason why they booed. I would love to hear from those fans that booed why they think is acceptable. I've been in the England Stadium. I've been at Wembley when Ashley Cole was booed before the game when he received his 100th cap. Again, pathetic.
Why do you think he was booed?
Because of whatever, maybe because it was Spurs fans or Arsenal fans that didn't like what he said in his book or whatever. But you're booing somebody that's made 100 caps for their country before the game starts. Grow up. That's just pathetic. And that's what I don't like. And Harry Maguire is a similar sort of thing. Whether you like it or not, whether he's playing, he's been picked. He's representing your country that you're choosing to support. Support them.
How do you think this will affect Harry Maguire?
I think he'll be fine because all the players have rallied round him. The manager's rallied round him. And
it can go one or two ways, though.
Well, but look what happened before Euro 96. The players turned on the media and said, we're not doing any. They went away to Hong Kong. They had a little incident or two. It was quite fractious before that in terms of with the media. The England players, Gareth Southgate, have worked incredibly hard to get that bond between players and fans back over the past few seasons. And it's been phenomenal. You know, we've seen it right across the board. That connection has come back and everyone's bought into it. What do you think is going to happen now? The players start going to go, hang on about, no, I'm not going to do that interview. I'm not going to do that on social media. I'm not going to engage. And it will be only the minority of fans that are doing it, but it will spoil it for everybody else. And I've been in those scenarios where the players go, you know what? No, we're sticking together because this is our team. And we don't, if it's 10 people or even it's 1% of people that are booing, no. Because what will happen is someone will do something else and then they'll get booed and then they'll get picked on and whatever it might be. So the players just go, no, not doing it. And they'll shut it down.
How big was this really, though? Because A lot of people felt the comments from the manager Gareth Southgate and those players like Jordan Henderson and Harry Kane and Declan Rice on social media, although they were in support of Harry Maguire, actually gave the story more magnitude and more fuel.
It was a massive story anyhow.
Than it maybe needed.
No,
but it wasn't, he didn't get booed by the entire stadium. We all know it was a minority of idiots.
But even so, we all heard it. It's always going to be a talking point. If you don't address it, you've got to come out. You come out and you support your players. Simple as that. And as captain, mental health is thrown around probably too much, I think, in sport, and mental health issues and those types of things. I think we need to be a bit careful how far we go down that line.
Why?
But if you're... Because sometimes I think it's used flippantly at times, and it's used out of context. But you're talking about a player, the captain, the manager, sticking up for their own player.
Mm.
Wouldn't you expect that?
I do, yeah. I do expect it.
So therefore, they have to come out and publicly say, I don't agree with what I've just heard. I don't think that's acceptable. And that's what all the players have done. And that's what the manager, Gareth Southgate, has done.
He did say something, Gareth Southgate, after the game that I found quite interesting. He said maybe the views of ex-players who are now pundits have helped change the public perception of Harry Maguire. And social media as well playing a part. And, of course, you know what it's like, Chinese whispers almost, or things snowball, people jump on a bandwagon, let's call it that. There are a lot of echo chambers out there as well. Do you think Gareth Southgate was right in what he said?
I think he's probably talking about one person more than anybody else, and that'll be Roy Keane. Roy Keane has massive influence. Unbelievable. Roy Keane says it, it's gospel. And I think we all, whenever Roy Keane speaks, we all sit up and listen. He's got fantastic, obviously he's got huge gravitas within the game, from what he's achieved and what he's done and everything that he's gone through and achieved in the game. So, you do have to listen. But he can be particularly vicious at times. If Alan Shearer said that, Ian Wright said that, Jamie Redknapp said that, I think we all just go, okay, that's their opinion. But when Roy Keane says it, everybody goes, well, that's the right opinion. Because it's Roy Keane who said it. And I think we're all guilty of it.
When he talks about Manchester United
in particular, of course, because he, such close connection, he was so successful, at that football club. So I think that's where people do listen. We've all seen the memes, and we've all seen everything else.
I get it. People do listen. Do you think Gareth Southgate has a point, though, that those opinions have moulded the perception of Harry Maguire?
Yeah, because of how many games have people actually 90 minutes? How many times have these people seen Harry Maguire play? They'll have seen snippets,
highlights,
and they'll have heard comments from Roy Keane that are everywhere, no matter what. So no matter how he's played, if Roy Keane says he's had an absolute shocker and it's disgraceful and he's had a stinker, we all go, well, he has done, even without watching the game ourselves and going through it and actually going, well, where was he wrong? Where was he? Was that bad? Was this... Do you see what I mean? It's like we listen because it's Roy Keane and he's spoken. So therefore, without seeing it for ourselves, we take his opinion as gospel. And maybe we shouldn't do that. And then you get memes, and then you get social media and trolls and everything else coming into it. And yeah, that it does influence opinion.
Do you think there is I don't know what you necessarily believe the common views of Harry Maguire are. I think a lot of people have criticised him.
Yeah. And rightly so.
But do you think the perception of him... I think the perception of him is basically of someone who is not good enough to be almost a Manchester United player for many. Some feel certainly he shouldn't be the Manchester United captain. Maybe his price tag plays a part in all of that as well, if I were to think about the public perception. Maybe if he cost 30 million quid, people wouldn't criticise him as much.
Well, that's not his fault. He didn't choose to be Manchester United captain. He's not choosing now. He's not going to relinquish it. He's not going to suddenly throw the armband away and go, I don't want it anymore. Of course, it's pride at stake and everything else. So that's up to somebody else to take it off him. It's not his fault how much he cost. It's not his fault how much he earns. It's not how much, all these types of things are nothing really to do with Harry Maguire. So I think perception has changed. When he first came from Hull, and broke in and started doing well, it was, oh yeah, look at this guy, what a nice guy. One or two things, and it all changes. So he's made a few mistakes. Does that really change him as a person? I don't think it does. But suddenly now, he's like a villain because he's had a few bad performances. Well, that happens in football.
I've got to ask you, I think I know the answer. Have you been booed before, Danny Mills?
Never. Not today. Not yet since we've been on air. Maybe there probably are people booing in the car already.
Yeah, I think there might be.
Every chance.
When you were booed when you were playing, did it affect you at all? Be honest with me now.
No. Yes, it did. It made me more determined to prove people wrong. I was never the greatest player, never had the greatest natural ability. So I spent my whole career from under 14s, under 15s upwards, proving to myself that I was good enough and proving to other people that I was good enough. So every time somebody booed me, I think what that did for me was fuel the fire. I will show you. I will prove to you. Had it before the World Cup, had it before you're not good enough to play for this, you're only in because Gary Neville's injured. Yeah, I was. That's a fact. But now it's down to me to prove it and show that I can, play at this level. In the end, I played in 2 European Cup semi-finals, played in a World Cup quarter-final, played for my country. For a player with bang average ability, I did pretty well. And a lot of those was because people kept saying, you can't, you cannot do this. You're not good enough. I'll tell you what, I'll show you that I can.
Have you had teammates maybe, or experienced in your life or sporting life, it go the other way? Have you had players who shrunk a little bit, or maybe their personality changed after they got a lot of flack in the media, or maybe a lot of flack from the fans?
Not massively, because to get to an elite level, and 0.001% of the population play football, you have to be incredibly resilient to get to that level.
Football, yeah.
Any sport. And that's what I'm saying, from the age of 14, 15, being constantly criticised by managers, coaches, fans, whatever it might, opposition fans, whatever it might be, you have to be resilient. You don't get to that level unless you can deal with criticism like that. And there have been strikers that obviously, sometimes went, oh, he's missed again. But that's a confidence thing. That's not necessarily the fans. That's just because they've missed. If there was no crowd and they'd missed, they'd still be, oh, I can't believe I've missed that. So it's just part of sport.